It's March 1st. Yesterday we had the CPAC through this weekend. Donald Trump made his first appearance since leaving the White House. And, well, where do we go from here? A lot of things to consider, a lot of things going on. We know that since Biden's been in, China's been happy. Democrats seem real happy about this, the ignorant majority. I'm calling it the ignorant majority of Americans, both Democrats and Republicans, the ignorant majority of Americans. You know, in truth, America was not founded by the majority, it was founded by a minority, or 3% of the population founded this nation, and it's like 3% of the population of this nation is what sustains this nation for 244 years, because the majority of this nation of people are a bunch of ungrateful, undeserving, no good, worthless idiots. But, you know, that's my opinion. And my opinion is the majority of the Republican Party are nothing but worthless cowards. You know, I watched, as we go through real quick, I just want to update people. Biden has airstrikes on Syria. We have him interfering now, playing, obviously, you know, he doesn't need Congress's approval to do things like airstrikes and what have you, getting involved in proxy wars. Excuse me. But it appears that there's a lot behind this. That's another video with Al-Assad and what's going on with Russia and China and the whole shebang here and what Biden's trying to do. It's a pretty tense situation there. Democrats are blasting Biden's attack against Iran proxy in Syria. Democrats. This is like so ridiculous. It reminds me of when I was a kid and I was reading about the ancient establishments and how government cooperate together to create proxy situations and where they, you know, can try to distract from the people who are uprising against the government. It's amazing. Israel now is retaliating strikes on Iran's targets in Syria in response to ship attacks. We have things going on. And how Biden can tighten gun control without Congress. You know, he can do a lot of things without Congress. This guy thinks he's God. It's amazing what we're allowing in this country. Biden calls for gun law reform on anniversary of Parkland shooting. Freedom of speech is getting attacked by the Democrats. And then we have CPAC. You know, Donald Trump yesterday watching CPAC, I gotta say, you know, I was really angry with Trump walking away. You know, a lot of Americans had expected that he was going to do what Lincoln did, and he was going to save this republic. And, you know, he commanded the world's largest military, and he had the world's largest armed militia behind him. But he walked away, and he handed the nation over to the criminal establishment. And a lot of that, of the minority of people in America that I know, have been questioning that and wondering why. And many of them are upset and very angry, and rightfully so, believing he cowered down. He became a coward, and he walked away. But yesterday, seeing him and considering a lot of things that have happened in the last month, you know, I have to reconsider that my anger may have got the best of me and that the man walked away to live to fight another day. But the problem is, I think Donald Trump's focus is off the attention of what really has got his back. You know, we have a very small minority. Like, you look at Margie Greene here. She's somebody who is, you know, and now even with her though, you know, like I say, every time I start to look for somebody in the Republican Party that I go, oh my God, there we go, we finally got a real American, I have to question, because I was watching her video the other day and she started talking about how all the people who were out there January 6th were stupid Americans. Let me tell you something, Margie Greene. I was there. And you know what I seen? I seen a sea of veteran hats. Veteran hats, yeah. Veterans. I seen a sea, like Marine veterans, Army veterans, Navy veteran, Air Force veteran. I seen and spoke with thousands of LEO veterans and also active duty of all of that were there. And they were not stupid people. They were Americans, fed up with what this country is doing, fed up with this government, fed up with the whole entire shit show. And they were not stupid Americans. They were Americans who were about to take back their country. That's what they were fed up, and they still are. Trust me. And you shouldn't lose sight of who you are and where the truth of what backs you is, the true American. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Donald Trump is counting on a Republican Party for a majority, a bunch of worthless American cowards. And I'm going to say it. I had people within the groups I'm in that mentioned even last month, and there's been debates about this between some of the people I know about Republican, Democrat, no parties, no party situation. George Washington didn't want a party. It was Thomas Jefferson in 1792 who founded the Republican Party, and George Washington was very against that idea. James Madison and Thomas Jefferson in 1792 started the Republican Party. I remember reading about where Jefferson knew him and Madison both had drafted in parts and worked on the Constitution, and they knew Article 4, Section 4 guaranteed to every state in the Union a Republican form of government, and they felt secure in establishing a Republican Party to represent Article 4, Section 4. But Washington warned that if you start establishing parties, you allow for the groundwork to be laid for other parties, and then you divide the nation and you divide the people. He didn't feel that a non-authoritarian service government is what we established with the Constitution had cause for a political party. I got to go back and review. I've been either a Republican or an independent all my life, because when I'm not in agreement with the Republican Party, I go independent. And it's just been a joke, a shit show, really, for my life and my time in this two-party system has been a shit show. And it's a show that I realized George Washington was right. We don't need political parties in this country, because all they do is pit the American people like football teams against each other. And in truth, the Democratic Party was never a part of America. They were a treasonous traitor party since the very beginning. The Democratic Party was founded out of the British loyalist Tories, who were the majority of the slaveholders in this nation. And it was established as a pro-slavery party to fight for slave owner rights and the right to expand slavery. The Democrats were pro-slavery. It was the Republicans who were anti-slavery. And though the Republican founding principles of the true republic, of what we had with Jefferson and Madison in the founding time, is a different beast than what we have today. The Republican Party, the true Republican Party, stayed to its founding principles of what America was about all the way up until the Civil War in 1861. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, and one of my favorites of the Republicans in that time would have been Cassius Marcellus Clay. But you had others, like I say, you had so many presidents that there was attempted, like Teddy Roosevelt, the attempted assassination on him. Prior to him, the assassination of the prior president of him, Republicans have been getting shot, murdered, killed, and assassinated by Democrats now since this country's been founded. Lincoln, they killed Lincoln, and then they tried to kill Teddy Roosevelt. There's four presidents who faced this, and John Kennedy was the only Democrat that got killed and assassinated. Ronald Reagan, they tried to kill him. But, that's the thing. These Democrats, since 1861 and the conclusion of the Civil War, have been nothing but a terrorist organization in this country. They're the founders of the Ku Klux Klan, the Jim Crow laws, the separate but equal, the segregation. It's just amazing. They established the Knights Union with the Ku Klux Klan. They're the founders of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, it's just, and then today, all these things seem to be hidden. And we have, like, Margie Taylor Greene. Everybody loves her. I love her. I like this girl. She does have brass. But like I said, I didn't like the comment she made the other day in her video about all the stupid Americans on January 6th. Maybe I misunderstood you. You might have meant the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter that went in and did the damage and were making a fool of themselves in the White House, the Capitol. But because I know the majority of the people I see when I was in Washington were not stupid Americans. They were the true Americans that secured freedom and liberty for this country. For the majority of the sea I see in the veteran hats, they were the true Americans, more deserving than any goddamn thing of the ass-sitters up we got in Congress right now, or the House of Representatives, a bunch of worthless, disgusting ass-sitters. And the Congress makes up nothing but a bunch of goddamn worthless, ass-sitter, lazy, coward-ass attorneys, paper-brain idiots, in my opinion. I'm so sick of what I see going on, and I think of my grandchildren, and I think maybe, what do I got, 20, 25 years left in my life to do something? I'll tell you what, I don't give a damn about the majority right now of the Republicans in this country, because you're all a bunch of self-serving, goddamn worthless cowards. That's what, in my opinion, of you are, all of you. You know, I look right here is another guy. I know he's got brass. This guy's got it. You know, we have, like I say, we have a minority that's actually in our government. There's a minority of people who are true Americans. You know, and some of them act true American, but I don't think they really have what is behind a true American. You know, Trey Gowdy has a lot of mouth and a lot of brass, but when it comes down to putting the brass to the, I don't know how to put it, but when it comes down to putting the brass to the actions, I guess you could say, well, he runs away, doesn't he? Because he's gone now. And that's what he had to face. But I do remember Trey Gowdy back in the day when all the Muslim invasions started here and the Democrats being open all to the Muslims coming in and allowing them to use their democratic platform, a known and long established since this nation was founded, declared enemy. You talk about the treason that's going on in this country right now is ridiculous. And it's been going on now for 20 years with the Muslims. The Muslims have been long established, declared enemies of the United States of America since our founding time. Our first two wars were fought against the Islamic Muslims. The first one in 1801, again in 1815. World War I was the Muslim Ottoman Empire. World War II, the Muslims were allied with Hitler and part of the Nazi Party. I mean, I just can't believe the ignorance of the majority of Americans, and as well that, like I say, of the Republicans. You know, these people don't seem to remember their own American history and who our enemies are. And that's because we have nothing but a bunch of failed, worthless, educated, idiot attorneys in our government. These people couldn't make it with a law firm. They couldn't make it in their own practice because they have no entrepreneurial skill. They sit up there, the silent majority, not because they're silent, because they're trying to make some kind of statement, because they're freaking cowards. These are worthless, ass-sitter cowards who are sitting on high-paid welfare, just giving lip service to the American people. That's all I watched and seen all through CPAC, was a bunch of coward-ass, worthless American ass-sitting attorneys giving the American people lip service, just telling people what they want to hear to secure their high-paid welfare check in the next election. That's all it is. That's all. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it all. But I'll tell you one thing, Donald Trump was real. Donald Trump was the real deal. I supported Donald Trump for 5 years, and when I seen him come out, I faced a lot of things in life. And I was inactive in things as a civilian with a team of guys we did against pedophilia and human trafficking for a little bit near the end of it. And I know that gut punch, you know, when you're working with what you believe is true authorities and you think you're doing the right thing and you think you're doing something to save humanity or you're doing something to better the world, and it's something you really want to take a stand against. And all of a sudden, you know, you in the midst of all that you're doing, you realize everybody involved that you believed in, that you believed were with you and had your back, turns out to be a part of everything you hate. Turns out to be laughing in your face, you know, that like the FBI and even some of the local state police and what have you, when you thought that these were people who were with you, on board with what you were doing, and you realize, no, they're actually part of it and they're laughing at you and they're just using you. And you're just a joke to them because they knew the whole time. That gut, that defeated feeling, that feeling of when you look back at all you did and you realize it was for nothing. That's the face I seen on Donald Trump when he came out. You can see it right here. Yeah. That's the face right there. The face of you just playing the role of who you were in that moment. But in your head and in your heart you realize everything you're looking at isn't really got you back. You don't know where the hell you stand. You don't know who to trust, who to believe in no more, because, you know, it's pretty clear to him the whole time his right-hand man, you know, stabbed him in the back, Mike Pence. Look at his face. That's a face of, I know that face, man. I seen that face mid-2000 When the reality of what he's going through right now hit me, you know, look at that. I can see it in his eyes, I can see it in his face expressions, I can see it everywhere. That confidence of that so many are with you is gone. Look at him. I don't care what anybody says, I know that face. And that's that face of not defeat, but my God, I'm alone. You know, I haven't really done much since mid-2000s, and following mid-2000 right up to 2010, it just was a constant. Seems like in my life I pick all the wrong people. I just, you know, that's why now I just stay to myself and my family. Just so many evil, freaking disgraceful, backstabbing people in this world. It's hard to find any real true people, I'll tell you that. But I do know there's a big minority of true Americans out there. I don't feel alone in that sense, but they're just like me. Everybody's just trying to get by and do what they got to do. Watching this shit show go on in America with all this politics and what have you. They got like the CPAC is nothing but a goddamn movie, like a movie awards thing. A bunch of talking heads just telling people what they want to hear, trying to secure their next election position so they can keep that high-paid welfare check flowing. Because without their elected position, these guys wouldn't be qualified to scrap grease off a goddamn dumpster behind McDonald's. Bunch of worthless goddamn losers and cowards, disgraceful. But, you know, I'm not talking to those people, and I'm not talking to the mass majority, neither are the ignorant, no good, disgraceful cowards of the Republican Party across this country. Bunch of claim to be Republicans, have no idea of the American history or anything, just a bunch of self-serving asswipes that, you know, really are cowards, disgraceful people who are no different than the Democrats, like sheep just following along with the mass of all the Republican establishment of all these coward-ass elected officials. But there's a minority out there. And Donald Trump, if you get to see this, you know, I may have jumped the gun because I see it in your face. I right there, I can see it. I see it. It's that knowing you were doing the right thing, knowing you believed in what you were doing, and you believed that you had a massive, massive movement. And you did. You have a massive movement, but you have a massive movement of a bunch of cowards. The majority of the Republican people in this nation and across this nation are ungrateful cowards. They just benefit from the sacrifices of that minority of all those great true Americans of our military who sacrifice. And even with the police, you back the LEO, but let me tell you something. A lot of the LEO, they're not the LEO of yesterday, man. These guys aren't cops because they want to be cops. They're cops because they're power drunk, no good, disgraceful people that you take, for instance, I'll tell you what, in the last 10 years, I myself have been doing personal audits on these things, and I have cops that are customers of mine, that good sheriff guys I know, and I have some that I know are really good. They know the Constitution and what have you, and that's a godsend to know there are some good. But I'll tell you what, the good ones have been leaving the police force. The good sheriffs that know the Constitution, the good people who know their rights and understand their oath, they're leaving because you know what? The order of the command within LEO right now is more on board with the Democrats and that of a tyrannical form of government than it is that of a constitutional form of government. And many of the city corporate police, I'm sorry to say, you know, I know because I when my travels I do just audit. I see a cop at Circle K or something, I'll try to strike up a conversation and get on. When you mention the Constitution, these guys just walk away. They just walk away. They don't know nothing about the Constitution. They took an oath to a thing they never even read. It's disgraceful. It's just totally disgraceful. They took an oath to something they never even read. They don't even know. And we allow this. We employ these. These are the guys running around hot guns, shooting people, beating the shit out of people, not caring about people. Because you know what? They just took the job because they're drunk on power. They're just drunk on power. Or they're controllable minions. They're just programmable idiots like the rest of what, you know, this government looks for. What Nazi Germany had. People who are complicit with that taking orders without questioning. You know, Gestapo is what we're winding up with a lot of LEO. They're very complicit. That's the main threat right now. The main majority right now of the militia across the nation is realizing that the resistance they're going to have is corporate police. That's going to be, you know, but really it's a small resistance compared, like I say, in all honesty and truth, the Patriot movement for you, Donald Trump, you should realize there's 14.5 million estimated true American militia. And out of those 14 million, a lot of them rose up on January 6th and were positioned to do whatever needed to be done to take control of this nation with you. You went and supported with the back of a bunch of cowards. And you realize, and everybody realized that Mike Pence was a traitor. He was with the Democrats the whole time. And I told you the night that you picked him, if you go back on my Facebook, I ranted and raved the whole night. You can't trust that guy because he was against you before you picked him. He was for the Muslim ban. He was against the Muslim ban, and that was the reason that raised great. Not to mention, I remember back when I was younger, something about him running in Indiana and high school kids coming out saying the guy was a member of the Klan. That got all swept under the carpet. I can't find anything of the media back in that time when that happened, but and then on top of it, he was more of a leaning Democrat than he was a Republican, and he was always rubbing elbows with the Democrats. When you picked him for VP, he was against the Muslim ban, and I raised question to that because the man was supposed to have a degree in history. He's supposed to be a history major. And I thought, how can anybody who knows history support Muslims coming into this country? Because anybody of an American that knows American history should know they've been long established, declared enemies of the American people. It's a totalitarian socialist regime that enslaves its people and in the pursuit of that of world domination. And it indoctrinates its people like Nazi Germany did to the Nazis, to the point that they're nothing but minion slaves that go out and do the will of these totalitarian Islamic rulers in their pursuit for world domination and killing and terrorizing people. We've known this since the beginning. George Washington condemned them as the enemies of mankind. Thomas Jefferson, though we have this twisted idiocy of history, which the majority of Republicans right now in our government, they don't know the history of this nation. They don't know the history of the Republic. They don't know nothing. They're just a bunch of disgraceful, undeserving, worthless, coward, disgusting freaking attorneys that don't even know what the hell they sit there silent. You know why they sit there silent? Because they don't know anything. And the Democrats just trot right over them. And one thing Donald Trump said that is true. The Democrats, they have a loyalty. Criminals are loyal. That's one thing that's clear. And the Democrats have been a criminal, treasonous, no good terrorist organization in this country since its founding in 1828. That's all they are. And they're not even allowed in this country, to be honest with you, because the Democratic majority rule position of what they take is a democracy. It's the other thing I keep hearing everybody talk democracy. We're not a democracy, people. We're a republic. Read freaking James Madison, John Jay, and the Federalist Paper number 10. Okay, and they break it down pretty clear so you understand. We are not a democracy. We had no intent of being a democracy. You don't want to be a democracy. Democrats are a democracy. That's what democracy is a democratic majority rule state. Not a republic. A republic is an individual constitutional protection. There's a big difference between an individual constitutional protected state and that of a majority rule state of a democracy. Big difference between a republic of a constitution, individual constitutional protection, and that of a democracy of a majority rule of a pure democracy or democratic democracy. There's a big difference, and people should learn this, but ignorance is clearly the ruler of this nation right now, with ignorant freaking people. Oh, it's scary. But Donald Trump, you're alone, man. You're alone, and I get it. I know. I can see it in your face, man. I really can. I see it in your face. See it in your eyes. See it in your posture. Looks very familiar. In brief, reminds me of thinking that we were doing a good thing only to find out that the very people we were doing it with were involved in it. Years. Broke us all down. We all had that look just like Donald Trump. We're friggin' fools. But Trump, you know what? You got 14.5 million in a militia across this country that are true Americans. Those Americans are willing to do whatever needs to be done to take this nation back and get our republic back on track. And it's coming. One way or the other, with or without you, Donald Trump, it's coming. But I'm going to tell you right now, you have woken up and realized, and it's pretty clear, you called out the rhinos. Here's your rhino list right here. Bunch of rhinos right here. It's disgraceful. Just disgraceful. And we have the whole of the majority of so many in this country that claim to be Republicans. They don't know anything. I talk to them. I go to, in the last 5 years with Trump, gave me hope again. And, I've met at Trump rallies I've gone to, 5. I was at 5 Trump rallies, and I met some great people. Incredible. Mostly former military people. One thing that I got to say, but not so much new school, old school. The older military guys, they know the Constitution, they understand American history, they put in the time to know what it is they're fighting for. The newer generation, to the older military veterans, man, it's getting scary because I talk to these younger kids right now, they don't know nothing. And the school system in the United States is failing greatly. I mean, these kids don't have no, you go on YouTube and you pull up these audits that are being done at these colleges where they're questioning these kids about when was the Revolutionary War, when was the Civil War, what was the Civil War. They don't even know. These are college level kids. They don't even know. It's disgraceful. They don't even know anything about this country. They don't know anything of the Republican establishment of our nation, our values, our principles as American. They don't even know nothing about the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. They don't know nothing. They don't know nothing of world history. And I'll tell you what, that's the major threat right there, because an ignorant people, they only know what they're told. And that's what a government of totalitarianism, like the Nation of Islam. You look at all the Islamic states. I did a long 4-hour video, has been getting a lot of views about the truth of how the totalitarian regimes they enslaved the people there, and that's what they're looking to do here. They're dumbing down the American society to create a nation of slaves. And the Democrats are the majority ones behind it. I've made many videos and I said it many times. Amazing how the Democrats get away with what they're doing, being who they are, and the horrors they've caused this nation through their run. And how the black American is so ignorant and fooled, so easily fooled by these people. And I look at the communities that these people control. For the majority, it's the black communities of the black Americans. And I look at how uneducated and unaware they are. And these people are falling in line and out of like the Nazis. They only know what they're told. They can't, literacy rate's the highest among them, and and not everybody's able to just, have the wits about them to go out and learn or figure this out on their own. And it's very easy to control a society, and that's what the Democrats use. They use the black communities now as a form of terrorism. That it's funny because I speak with people, and they talk about how the Democrats sig their communities on the world, the Republicans, the cowards. That the whole thing of sending them into gated communities, and it scares the rich people. The majority of the Republicans are the well-to-do business owners, soft-skinned, coward people. Though we had the ones here in Florida came out with their guns and they were standing their ground. And that's a rarity to find now, but because the majority of them are just cowards. They're, oh my God, they're in our neighborhood, and that's what the Democrats like to do. They like to send them in and sit back and snicker and laugh at the cowardness of the majority of Republicans. And then we see that in our establishment and government itself and the elected officials, how many of them are crossed. You realize there's 110 senators with in a 100, you got 100 with 2 senators each state, 50 state, you got 100. So you got 2 senators in each 100 people, and how many of half it's near divided. And the Republicans say nothing. The Democrats scream and yell, and they get up there lying, blatantly lying. They accuse the Republicans of being the Klan people, the racist people, this, that, when it's the Democrats. And the Republicans will sit silent. You know why? Because they're idiots. They don't know nothing about the history. They don't even know. It's just disgraceful. Very few of them know. And the ones who do know, if they say anything, you got all the Democrats staring at them, and you got all the other idiot Republicans staring at them because they don't know what they're talking about. And the guy just is like an isolated, singled out person who's just looking like, nobody's paying any attention. Like you got Jim, the guy Jim we're talking about here. When you look at him right here, Jim Jordan, when he says stuff, everybody's quiet. Because you know what? The majority of the Republicans watching him, they have no idea what the hell the guy's talking about. It's like when Trey Gowdy, I remember Trey Gowdy in 2000, I believe it was 2006, when they had Keith Ellison coming in, the first Muslim, and the issues going on. And he raised the issue about the Muslims being in our Congress way back then, Trey Gowdy. And he was raising the question about, what are we going to allow? Are we going to allow bestiality? Are we going to allow polygamy? Are we going to, he was like, where are we going with this? And everybody was like, nobody knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was talking about, but he realized that, he was just being made a spectacle because the Democrats are just looking at him like he's an ignorant fool. They called him a racist, this, that, and everything else. Republicans said nothing because they have no idea about the history. They're just a bunch of lazy-ass attorneys who sit up there on high-paid welfare. They don't know nothing of the history of the country. They don't understand what anybody's talking. They don't understand what I'm talking about. Nobody understands what I'm talking about. There's a big minority that understands what I'm talking about. And I guess that's where we're going right now. I believe Donald Trump just had imagine being Donald Trump. This is what I had to think about during CPAC and seeing him for the first time speak. Here you are, January 6th. You've got near 1 million people out there. And you're listening to your right-hand man betray you. And the American people, I'm going to tell you what, I was there and watched, that's what set people off. When they heard Mike Pence say that he was going to request for a 6-day review and extension on the evidence of the election fraud, people realized that what he was going to do was get everybody to go home so they could do what they were going to do behind everybody's back. And that's what set the people off. Not the people, I'm not talking about the idiots who went in and did the damage and made asses of themselves in the White House, the Capitol. I'm talking but the majority of people there and all together in a movement of all at once, the anger, the frustration, the feeling was evident that everyone realized Mike Pence was a traitor. They all felt it, they all knew it. And you know what? I got to say, walking around that day talking with a lot of good, true patriot Americans, man. A lot of good, and there was a sea of veteran hats. Let me tell you something. They were not insurrectionists, Donald Trump. These were Americans, man. These are the people who put it on the line the whole time. These are the people that, I'll tell you what, when you look at the way that this nation treats our military men and women, the men who are the real bravest and the balls like these people have, that really go to the line and are really the ones who secure the freedom and liberty for this, all these ungrateful scumbags in this country, and the way everybody, Democrats, Republicans alike, the abuse that they allow to go on against our military men and women, the very men and women, but yet they're still willing, while people are spitting in their face constantly in this country, that of our elected officials and the Democrat, even the Republicans sit silent, don't defend them, and the public itself for the mass majority of no good, worthless, coward, scumbag idiots in this nation don't say a word to defend our military. They sit like cowards like they are. These men are still, and men and women of our military are still willing to stand up and fight for this country. And you know what? I know in my lifetime I've met many great, great veterans. I've met veterans from the Korean War, World War II, Vietnam War. These guys were the true grunt of balls and bravery of when we talk about the home of the brave, boy. I'll tell you what, you hear the stories from these men and these women that Desert Storm, what have you. I got friends from high school, I know. And I remember the character of some of my friends from high school. You just knew in high school that these guys had that attitude about them, that brass about them. There was no coy in them. You know what I'm saying? You just knew they were the real deal, even before they went in the military. And I know that today they are still them same example of them young men they were then. They're great men today, and I'm proud to say I know them. And it's just I think when I was in Washington both times, I was out Washington both times, and the last time, January 6th, was a sea of veteran hats, and I got to meet so many former Marines and older guys too. There was many Vietnam veteran guys there, and there was so many law enforcement, active duty, that were there, and they were all part of it. They were not insurrectionists, they were Americans, and you're damn right. There was a lot of them went in, they want to get in that Capitol, and they want to confront that of the elected government, because you know what, in the Declaration of Independence, we got a right. We got a right when a government has a long train of abuses, and I'm sorry, the train of abuses in the last 20 years in the treason has resulted in over 5,000 Americans being killed right here on our own home ground, and you treasonous, no good elected scumbags are getting away with murder. You're getting away with murder, and you're getting away with what you're doing, and you're sitting there playing games with millions of people's lives and the future of our children's lives, and you're playing games like it's a goddamn joke. And I'm telling you what, the majority of people are buying your little sitcom that you play out with everybody, but there's a minority of people getting real freaking fed up with it right now. And that minority, trust me, outnumbers anything you got you think can stop that minority. It's not going to stop it. And I'll tell you what, Donald Trump, you need to realign yourself with the true Americans. They're not the majority, they're the minority. And they're out there. And they're questioning you but I think a lot of them, and I'm going to say right now, we need to understand the situation this guy was in. Mike Pence traitored on him. It was pretty clear, and it's still pretty clear, the majority of the Republican establishment is nothing but a bunch of self-serving, worthless, goddamn educated idiot attorneys, cowards, disgraceful people, undeserving of the blessings of this nation, half of them. They're just disgraceful cowards, all of them, and he knows it. He knows it now. He realizes it now because look what they did. Look what they did is the Democrats slammed him after January 6th. And I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump, you made a mistake. You made a big mistake. You slammed your own base. You slammed your own base. They were Americans. They weren't insurrectionists. And they have a right. They have a right to remove a treasonous, tyrannical government. It had to be the hardest thing in the world for you. I know, and in that position, that's why I say I was angry, because I was thinking you controlled the largest military, but we're understanding now from people who are active duty that up in the ranks of even them, you were being advised on what to do, misadvised, ill-advised, by that of cowards within our own military and higher ranks that are they're saying, when I'm getting the gist of that, there's some very high command that are just starred up ass sitters that never really, they're undeserving. They're ass sitters. They're not the real deal. They're just made to look like the real deal because they're controllable puppets. And man, you missed the boat on realizing all the fakes around you. And I get it. You play a tough guy yourself, and we're all not idiots. We realize a little rugby and football in college, what have you. I come from the streets of Newark, New Jersey, and I grew up in Manhattan. I remember seeing you as a kid in Manhattan, and believe me, your lifestyle and the real lifestyle of what the average true American in the hard times really deals with is a whole different ball game. I don't think you've ever really been punched knuckle bare in the face in your life, but so I mean. Don't overextend yourself to be something you're not, like Joe Biden with his, corn pop stories. We don't need no bullshit. There is enough bullshit going on in this country right now. And that's what's really leading us where we are, is the bullshit of people. The fake people in this country, the ungrateful, undeserving Americans, who are the mass majority. But you know what? I'm looking to reach out to that minority of real Americans, because I'm thinking of my grandchildren, I'm thinking of their children, and I'm thinking of the future. And man, I think we all realize if we don't wake up and we don't do something now, where's it going to be in 10 years from now? We have Muslims right now being elected into our own government. And trust me, it's worse than Congress. I've been monitoring and watching, and I know many who are, they know, because we've all been watching. These people are moving into county governments and county commissions, and, it's happening in New Jersey, it's happening in Michigan quite a bit. And we see in many other states where it's happening right now, in Washington, Oregon, what have you, New York, Brooklyn, Bronx. We see it going on like crazy. And you got to understand that the majority of people are just ignorant fools. They don't realize these are actually our enemies, and we're allowing in this government. Let me tell you something too right now, just so it's on the record. Every government of any county, state, city, or jurisdiction that consents to or permits to build a mosque in America, you're a traitor. You're a treasonous traitor. The mosque represents that of a foreign government building, of a foreign government, of a totalitarian regime that has been declared enemies by the first four administrations. George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, all declared the Muslims the enemies of the American people. Known and established long, and they've never changed their ideology. They are a totalitarian regime that enslaves their people, indoctrinates their people for world pursuit of world domination and control. Nothing has changed with them. They've always been our enemies. They were our enemies in the Ottoman Muslim wars of World War I. They were with the Nazi Party. There are still current, standing only Nazi Party members who are still adherent to the Nazi Party and never renounced their Nazism or membership to the Nazi Party. You're allowing Nazis to build a foreign government building. Because, you've been being told, like, you can go look at Andy Cyrus, Sandra Solomon. These are former Muslims who were raised in the Islamic nations. They know the truth. Brother Rashid, the son of Hamas, these people know the truth, and they've been telling you, and you've been ignoring it. Not so much the Democrats. They know. They're fully complicit with it, because the Democrats have been a long-standing enemies within this nation since this nation's founding. They're not American and never were American. Their goal has always been to destroy this country, and the ignorant society just doesn't even realize the truth of that. But it's the truth. But they're allies with that of the Muslims, because they're very much like organizations with the Democrats and their terrorist organization, the Ku Klux Klan, and the way they now divide society by race, cultural, sexual, genders. Now it's ridiculous, the idiocy we're allowing in this nation to what's going on. It's just insanity, totally insanity, how the Democrats capitalize on the mentally ill and people with serious mental conditions and disturbances in their life from abuses, and how these people are capitalizing and using these people to forward their agenda of fear and terrorism on that of the coward Americans who are Republicans across this nation, by sending in these people to parade in their neighborhoods and protest in their neighborhoods and riot in their neighborhoods and just scare people into complicity, a little different than what terrorism does of the Islamic Muslims. And now they got the Muslims coming in doing it too, right? Pretty soon we're going to start seeing a rise again, which we're already seeing right now. It's happening around the world again with the Muslims and their attack. This is what's going on with the proxy war situation right now with Syria and things like that. It's all getting ready to start back up again. But, to the point real quick, to Donald Trump. It's all in all, Donald Trump, still in all. I'm going to tell you what, that minority, and I don't give a damn. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a Republican and you're an American and you know what I'm talking about, I know who you are. More than likely, we know where we stand. But for the majority of the Republicans out there who are the ass sitters right now, totally ignorant to anything I'm talking about right now, and all just going along no different than the Democrats, like a bunch of goddamn sheep. This is not for you. I don't need you anyway, because like this man woke up and realized you're all a bunch of worthless scumbags, bunch of worthless goddamn cowards. Because you know what? The Democrats, like he said, they're loyal, and he gets it. They're loyal. The only problem is their loyalty lies to corruption, treason, and the overthrow of our nation, and their loyalty is self-serving to that of their own powers and authorities. They have no loyalty to American culture and values. And with Donald Trump, his loyalties lie to that of the true American values. And he has no one of true loyalty with him but a bunch of freaking cowards. You know, and right now, the base of what the government's doing is those who are not the cowards among them, that of the true base of the state militias, the true patriot Americans who were out there January 6th and across this country at state capitals on January 6th, who are willing to overthrow and take control of this government and oust it and put in a temporary government to hopefully restructure our government order in a way that better protects and secures our Constitution in the future for our posterity, like we are duty to do. Well, they're being condemned to hell, aren't they? They're being called insurrectionists, criminals. And you have all the complicity of this corrupt government using all its powers that we, the people, consent to them to have to go after the true Americans. Yeah, how disgraceful. And all of those, and even Donald Trump, that's what I'm saying, you people are supporting it. And you don't even realize you're cutting your own throat, because the people that you're attacking are the only true brave Americans who are willing to step up and fight for this country and its freedom and its liberty and defend that Constitution and secure our republic. Is the ones right now you're allowing through law to do this. It reminds me of the era of like Quasimodo with Japan, when you had the law move in and you had those people manipulating the law against that of long-standing cultural values and principles, and how they manipulated the law to be able to defy that of what would have been the pride and dignity of the heritage of the people in Japan. And, you know, we're allowing that to happen here in America. We're allowing that, you know, and we're allowing great abuses of the law. Understand this, is I'm going to leave this off and let is this way here, and you know, the law is there to enforce our rights, not to dictate us. That's not, America was founded to have the law to protect our actions and being able to exercise our rights and equal to that of all Americans. When does a right and a law get broken? It becomes criminal at the point when somebody tries to exercise a right out without allowing anyone else to exercise it to that level. Meaning, like, if you got two people talking and one guy realizes the other guy is like me, I may be upsetting people who don't like what I'm saying, and they're like, we need to shut this guy up, and you want to shut me up, right? Now, but you want to still be able to talk. You see, that's when it becomes criminal. When you can exercise a right above that which you're willing to allow me to exercise my right, now you're a criminal. That's where the law should lock somebody up, is when somebody's abusing the law. And this government is now doing the very same thing I'm saying. They're using the law to one-sidedly get their own way without allowing anyone to be able to speak their free mind. You know, you think of like Sophie Scholl during the time of the Nazi era, right? And that's what you have with fascism and Nazism and totalitarianism. They want to shut down the person who's telling the truth. And like we know with Joe Biden, he's got his saying about they choose truth over facts. Because the truth they're telling you and they want you to believe is lies. And they know if you look into the facts are going to prove their lies. Donald Trump has faced a hard situation. And I imagine in his situation, he's not really truly a fighting kind of guy to get down into. He's too old right now. Maybe in his younger days he might have. I don't know. But he's an older guy now, and he would have to rely on that of true strength and brawn to protect him. And so I would say to that of, I know, the 14.5 million Americans out there, at some point we're going to have to do something. At some point we're going to have to make it known. You know, we're talking a total of all, if they were to have all that they count on, 1.2 million people, that's what they got. We have an army of 14.5 million people, and we have a true American that we could place and we got to do something. Because this guy right now is Biden doesn't even know. The other day he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's saying it right on the microphone. What am I doing? He doesn't even know what he's doing. This guy's a puppet, and all of these people are self-complicit, like Maxine Waters and all these people. You got a guy right now running against Maxine Waters. I seen his video was where he went and visited her mansion and how she lives outside the district, and he made a good strong point. And that guy is former military, and he's trying to run against Maxine Waters. But I got the problem is like what you had with Kim, the girl Kim in Baltimore. You know, she was a true conservative American, and she didn't win her election because of the corruption. And the same thing like right now, like Donald Trump is talking about, 2024. What makes you think you're going to win 2024? They took it from you this time. They took it from you. They took the state. Look at what they did in Georgia. They took the local elections. They corrupted everything. They're doing it, and there's nobody doing shit about it. Everybody's acting as if they think there's some kind of integrity with the elections going forward. We're no longer a republic. Donald Trump, you need to wake up and realize we were a republic in 2016 because the American people were able to get you elected. And no offense, sir, but you dropped the ball and you failed. You failed to exercise your true authority and power. I don't know, some people say it's out of cowardness because you realize you couldn't take to war. You didn't want to take to a civil war position in overthrowing the corruption of this government. You cowered down. You did, and then it might have been, some say that it was on the basis of realizing too that punch in the gut when you realize everybody around you thought was with you are with them, and you realized you had no chance. I have a feeling that might have been a later, and a lot now are thinking that might have been a later where your life could have been a threat by that of our own people, of who maybe possibly you yourself had not until that moment realized we're not with you. But I got news for you. In the outside of what you're with, the mass minority of that of true Americans, around 14 million. I know you got 80 million, you think it's not. You got about 14 million people who are real Americans. Let me tell you something. That of all military command, all FBI command, all CIA command, all state police, sheriffs, county, city, all of the whole entire LEO of law enforcement and military enforcement across the country, if the entire of its whole standing right now was to become tyrannical and treason with the Democrats, they are still no match for that 14 million. And that 14 million it makes up of true former veterans, active duty veterans right now who are still wise, complicitly joined together in their effort for the Constitution of this nation and what it was founded and the principles upon. And they'll wipe this shit. Right now, they'll wipe this shit out of anybody in that government that is going to act treasonous against you or threaten you. You need to be with the true people who will protect you. But you're being complicit with them and condemning that of the true power and source that really can protect you. The real American people who are the real balls of this nation. That of the real men and women who will stand up and do what needs to be done. Not the coward, complicit, no good scumbags who are just self-serving and do nothing but offer lip service. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the Democratic establishment itself is a bunch of cowards. And that of the world rulers, even the world rulers, the people, the Islamic Muslim people, are brainwashed, indoctrinated, and those people are no joke. They're like true Americans. They will fight to the death for what they believe in. No different than that of what was the former kamikazes of the Japanese people that would fight to the death for what they believe in. But understand, when you're looking at totalitarian regimes, these people are fighting for a thing they're indoctrinated to believe in. That ain't true. And they don't know it. But if you wake them up, they're the real fighting spirit of what is behind it. The people leading those people, doing this to these, they're no good. They're no different than the cowards in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Those are the world rulers and leaders, are soft-skinned cowards. They're just very crafty in mind, and they have a genius network of people who are able to manipulate and control millions and millions of people. And they have the ability to put the front up. They know the psychology of humanity and how the mass majority is coward, timid people who will be complicit and go along with things. And as we realize in America, it's never been about the majority. America was never about the majority. Like I say, when you look at this nation, 3% were the founders of the population. 3 in every 100 people were willing to fight for independence and establish this country. The other 97% would have gone to their knees and kissed King George III's ass. And there's no doubt about it. Only 3% had the balls to stand up and make this nation what it is. And this nation has been being sustained by that small minority of our true brave American men and women who take to our military and who enlist and go in and put their life on the line day in and day out for that of the freedom and liberty of the American people and protecting that Constitution, which they've sustained now for 244 years. And I got news for you right now. The vast majority of those veterans they did not sign that dotted line and put their life on the line to lose the Constitution in their lifetime. They are still willing, and they took that, and they say it, I see it all the time, they took that oath forever, all their life, and they're willing to uprise and defend and do whatever's necessary to secure the Constitution and our republic. But you're with the wrong people, Donald Trump. You're with a bunch of worthless, disgraceful, no-good treasonous scumbag cowards. And for what we're hearing and what my understanding is, and I'm just putting this out for people so they understand who see this video, we have some very high-ranking in military that are ass-sitters, that are never seen action, supposedly, as I'm being told. And I'm just relaying the word that these people in high command, some up very high command, have never ever been a threat of anything, and they don't know, and they're complicit with the treason and the corruption, and they're drunk on power, and they need to be dealt with. They need to be dealt with. And the things that are going to come and dealing with things that are coming soon, so people are prepared. There's not going to be the people who are going to be taking the position to change things in this country are not the traitors of this country. They're the true Americans of this country. And those who are really think all this is a joke need to just shut the hell up and step back. Because right now, the nation's at threat. Our republic has been dissolved. We're a banana republic. The world is watching, and many of our world enemies are watching. And right now is a time of enlightenment for the world needs to wake up. People in China are willing to die for liberty and freedom we have. And that's becoming self-evident to that of the Chinese government. People in Iran have been rising up and are willing to die to become again a free republic. And that of the true patriot Americans are willing to rise up and die to maintain and secure this republic and our Constitution as this nation was founded. We need to become a unified people in the world for what our goal and our common interest is. And we need to deal with this corrupt government of these dictators and totalitarian regimes and these worthless, disgusting, inhumane, disgraceful goddamn people who are the actual cause of all this. It's not about black or white. It's not about racial issues or sexual issues that are mentally ill who have no idea what they're doing. These are all just pawns in the game of these people who are soft-skinned, worthless, disgraceful cowards who should all have the fate of what we've seen with Saddam Hussein. They should all be facing that fate. That's what they're deserving of, every goddamn one of them, including every traitor in this country right here. Every government traitor scumbag who has been working complicitly with the enemies of this nation and helping them, aiding and assisting them, indoctrinating that of the American posterity, dumbing them down through the Department of Education. Every man, woman who is involved in it should meet the fate and see the fate of Saddam Hussein, because you're a treasonous, no good, ungodly, inhumane scumbag who deserves that kind of fate. But with that said, I'm going to leave off and say, Donald Trump, man, I love you. I believe in you. I still do. And a lot of us are questioning. We can't understand why, but information is coming out. Some high rankings, and you got to be real careful who you listen to. You got to be real careful. And what you need to do is you need to bring in yourself around the ranks of that of former military guys who are long-standing and long-established and know the truth, and are awake to the reality. And you need to align yourself with the right people and be careful, as you know, Mike Pence. But let me tell you, coming soon is going to be dealing with these people. I would advise anybody who is complicit right now with the opposition, who's in a powerful position of power, and you feel so protected. And it's not just for the sake of for the video, just going out to you, let you know something, so you are aware you're outnumbered greatly, and that people who outnumber you greatly, 14 million, 14 to 1, right around the average, somewhere between like 11 to 1 average, from what I'm understanding, want you to know you're greatly outnumbered, and you have an option right now: resign. You have an option right now: resign, back away, step down, do what you got to do to get out of your position of trouble. Because if you don't, you will face the fate too of Saddam Hussein. No traitor will go unpunished. So you would be wise to stop being complicit. You would be wise to think you're all that. And it's not coming from me. I'm letting you know right now. You're not getting away with what you're doing. And right now, the handwriting's on the wall, and I'm able to tell you what I'm telling you because shit's about to get real. Shit's about to get real. There's an inventory being taken of everybody. Shit's about to get real. So with that, I'm just leaving off, and I'm letting you know that's what we're facing. I believe Donald Trump is a great American. I believe Donald Trump has done more from anybody in America. And, I'm proud of what the man did. He did do more than anybody did in recent presidents in the last 50 years. And he did everything he said he was going to do. The sad part is he has nothing but a bunch of treasonous, no-good, scumbag, worthless cowards around him and supporting him. And, he aligned himself with that weak, coward base. And he allowed them of that weak, coward base to manipulate him to turn on the true, strong base of true, brave Americans who had his back and would have had it on his command, taking control of this government and this nation. You had it, Donald Trump. You just missed the opportunity because you were blinded and you allowed yourself to be misled. And I see the punch in your gut. Believe me, I know it. I know it. So, whatever way it goes, we're counting on you. We're going to count on you eventually. Because right now, here's the deal, people. We're a banana republic. America doesn't even exist right now. We're just a phase right now. We're back to 1776 because you know what? Somebody's going to have to defend that Declaration of Independence again. Somebody's going to have to take to the stand and make sure that people in this world understand we're not playing. Because right now it's just wind. It just doesn't mean nothing. Because pretty much we've allowed the criminal establishment to go in and do whatever they want against the will of the American people who are supposed to be the government of this nation. A nation self-governed by the people, for the people, of the people. And we allowed it. And sadly, Donald Trump, that's what I'm saying. You walked away. You handed the nation over to a criminal establishment knowingly. You failed. You shouldn't have done that. You should have never allowed them to get away with this. Now, we don't know if this, but I'm telling you right now, there is a plan. Because they're not going to get away with this. They're not going to get away with this. I don't believe they're going to get away with this. Matter of fact, I'm confident they're not going to get away with this. It's coming. Reality's coming. The real Americans are not going to deal with this. They're not going to let this happen. And you in the government, you pretty much know. You pretty much know. But I'm just putting out this right here to, again, reiterate to anybody who is complicit, who thinks you are so badass and that you are so high in command and that you are so untouchable. You're outnumbered 14-1. And you're outnumbered, and a majority of that people, of that 14-1, probably around close to 6 million of them are former military, LEO, what have you. Very well experienced, trained, and they know everything you know. So don't think you outsmart them. You don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. You know you don't have a chance. CIA is very aware you don't have a chance. We hear it from our own people who are with that of the mass majority of that minority that are with you. In the FBI, in the CIA, in the National Guard, in the military, all branches of the military, all different branches of classified higher-ups and what have you. We're everywhere. And we know everything going on. Just so you know. You're not fooling nobody. And we're sick of the games. Keep playing the games. Keep playing the games. Because you know what? We do need to know who needs to be held accountable. I would advise, and I'm just saying, I would advise anybody who's been complicit in it and overreaching in it, you should resign. You should step down. You should get out of it now. You should get out of it now. Because there could be mercy put on that. But those who stay complicit with it and think you're going to continue with this and that you're going to be okay with this, when the shit hits the fan, you're going to face that fate of Saddam Hussein. You can damn well believe that. From what I'm understanding, I'm telling you right now, you better damn well believe that. You better think of your own family and your future and who you are as an American. And you better reevaluate yourself and get your shit straight about what you took that oath to and what you defend. because that Constitution starts with we the people, not we the government. You better get your priorities right. You better learn your place, because ignorance of the law and ignorance of this nation and that of being an American is no goddamn excuse. You understand that? It's no excuse. And I'm just letting you know that from that of people who ain't playing around. Ain't no excuse. So with that said, everybody have a great day. That was my take on CPAC. It was a waste, in my opinion. CPAC was a waste, in my opinion. Real quick, something happened there. A little bit of technical error. But it's disgusting just to watch so many complicit, lip service, coward, disgraceful people who are our elected officials. There's a minority of true Americans that are among that of our government we can respect. There's some that are former military. There's a lot going to be running in the next election. But here's the bad thing about it. Like this election here, we had a lot of good people that could have been replacing a lot of scumbags. But you know what? The elections clearly are not at the will of the people no more. It's all being controlled by corrupt criminals. So in the next election, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because we realize until we take back our nation, till we take back control of this situation, till we rid our nation of this criminal establishment and restructure our government in a way that we are sure to secure that of our republic and our Constitution for that of our American posterity. We're a banana republic, and nothing that we're saying and nothing that was said of CPAC is going to come about, because right now there is no America. There's just an image of what potentially could be America again. We have undone everything that was done in 244 years because we failed to secure our republic, and we allowed a criminal establishment. And sadly, Donald Trump's the man who walked away and allowed it. He did not have the position, or I'm sorry, but he obviously was no Abraham Lincoln. He was obviously no Teddy Roosevelt. He was obviously no Ronald Reagan. Okay? And if he is, and he has that, he did what he had to do to live to fight another day. We'll find out in time. But either way, you can't take away from the man did what he did. And he was a great president. He's one of the greatest presidents we've had in a long time. In the last 5 decades of my life, I've never seen a president as honest, upstanding, and who did what he said he was going to do as Donald Trump. So I can't take away from that. Though I'm like a minority of many of the Republican establishment of this nation, disappointed in that he walked away and handed this nation over to the criminal establishment and allowed them to get away with this. Nothing we can do about that now, but do what we got to do. And that's what I'm saying. People need to do what we got to do, and we got to get real about doing it. And I'm saying this right now. There's a lot of I got to go on here because I got to make sure I get the point out. A lot of state attorneys, a lot of people, judges. This goes more than just the elected front faces we're seeing. All you people. All of you. If you don't really understand the importance of being an American, and you don't really understand the Constitution and the threats we're facing, because you know what? The majority of you, and I'm going to say this clearly to you all, and I'm going to say this very clear to all the judges, state attorneys, and people. Let me tell you something. I hear your state attorneys brag all the time, like, Camille Harris talks about how she spent her life among criminals, this, that, and everything, and you talk as if the people are so, don't realize how dangerous and everything it is while you're in that courtroom and who you deal with. Let me tell you something stupid. You took those criminals out of society where we the people deal with them 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We know what's going on real in the world. The people who live among where those criminals come from, they see it day in and day out. In the inner cities of the Democratic-controlled ghettos, there's a lot of good people thriving for their pursuit and happiness with a dream that right now is impossible to make because of scumbags, worthless, no good, treasonous scumbags like you people, who are working your little power trips with the government thinking you're so powerful and you're so, able to do what you do and get away with it without any concern. You're not. And you're soon about to wake up with that. I would advise you all tonight, go home, read your Constitution, understand what you took an oath to, and think and really evaluate, do some research on history of America, and ask yourself who you are as an American, and return tomorrow, or take a couple days to do it, and then return as either an American. And if you can't find it within yourself to be that American, I'm going to tell you right now, the money and the prestige of the job, with your little paper brain degree, isn't worth the fate of Saddam Hussein. There ain't nothing you're going to get to keep when your ass is hanging from the gallows for treason. You better think about that. Because when the shit hits the fan, I can assure you, There will be a cleansing across this country of treasons, scumbags, and everyone complicit in it is going to be held accountable. Everyone. Because it's going to make a mark for the rest of all world history to know. Don't ever act and corrupt of the American people's government when they trust you. We're going to make an example to make sure that everyone throughout all of world history forward knows you don't ever cross the American people. Have a great day. You all better think about it.